Part 1. The hidden struggle of the chosen ones. Have you ever wondered why those who seem to be on a higher path, those chasing enlightenment, wisdom, or a deeper purpose, so often find themselves secretly battling their most primal desires, especially lust? It is one of the most common and yet least talked about struggles among what many people call the chosen ones. But why is that? Why do people who seek spiritual growth or intellectual awakening often wrestle so intensely with something as basic as lust? You'd think that pursuing higher knowledge would remove these kinds of temptations, right? But the truth is, it's actually the opposite. Let me explain. It all comes down to something called the paradox of awareness. The more aware you become of yourself, the more conscious you are of your own mind and spirit, the more you start to notice your weaknesses. And lust, it's not just a physical urge. It's a tested challenge to your self-control, your discipline, and your sense of purpose. It is an internal war between their higher ideals and the base desires that try to pull them away from their path. It's about trying to stay focused on something greater, while their own biology constantly tempts them toward distraction. For chosen ones, the fight isn't just about resisting indulgence. They tend to see beyond the surface of reality. They understand that material pleasures are temporary, that chasing after shallow satisfaction is an illusion. And here's the thing, chosen ones are usually very introspective people. They're thinkers, visionaries, truth seekers. Lust isn't just a basic biological impulse for them. It becomes a temptation of the mind, a force that tries to pull them off course. But with this heightened awareness comes a unique, challenges sensitivity to the very desires they were trying to rise above. Religious figures, saints, intellectual leaders, they've all spoken about how deeply they were tested by temptation. The more they resisted, the more intense the desire became. It's almost like a cosmic joke. The harder you try to push it away, the more it comes knocking. It's about the need for intimacy in a world that feels distant and cold. It's about the craving for closeness when you're constantly set apart from the crowd. Spiritual leaders, monks, philosophers, they've all written about this struggle throughout history. It's a tough balance to strike. They've warned that giving in too easily can rob you of clarity, focus, and your sense of purpose. They've channeled it into their work, their art, or their purpose. Whether it's because of their spiritual practices, their intellectual pursuits, or their dedication to something greater, they often feel separated from the world around them. And loneliness breeds longing not just for friendship or community, but for connection on every level, emotional, intellectual, and yes, physical. The challenge is to master it, to control your desires instead of letting your desires control you. People expect them to be perfect, to be above human weakness. So instead of talking about it, they stay silent. They hide their struggle, which only makes the problem worse. The problem is, when something is forbidden, it often becomes more tempting. It's human psychology. The moment you tell yourself, I can't have that, a part of you starts to want it even more. It's a test. It's a lesson. It's part of the path. And this is exactly why people who seek purity, discipline, or enlightenment sometimes feel an even stronger pull toward lust than the average person. The more they try to suppress their desires, the more those desires grow in the shadows, building up pressure. But they're still human. The body still has its own needs, its own urges. We'll talk about the pedestal society puts on spiritual seekers, and how power and admiration can create temptations of their own. And those don't just go away because you meditate or read philosophy books. This creates a silent battle of war that's happening in the minds of many chosen ones, one that most people never see. If you look back through history, you'll find this pattern everywhere. And here's another layer to this: isolation. Chosen ones usually walk a lonely path. So in this case, lust isn't just about desire for the body. Many spiritual seekers find themselves torn between their ideals, the desire to stay focused on the higher path, and their natural human longing for connection. At the core of this struggle is the battle between the physical self and the spiritual self. Chosen ones want to transcend their base instincts. They want to aim higher, to seek knowledge, purpose and enlightenment. The challenge isn't to eliminate desire altogether. That's impossible. Throughout history, many have tried to do exactly that. Some have taken their sexual energy and redirected it toward creativity, spiritual growth, or intellectual achievement. But no matter how disciplined you are, the temptation is always there. It lurks in the background, waiting for a moment of weakness. And here's the part that makes this battle even harder: the pressure of expectations. Chosen ones often feel like they're not allowed to admit that they struggle with lust. Society holds people on a higher path to a different standard. This leads to a kind of hidden war where they are not just fighting their desires, but also fighting the shame of having those desires in the first place. But here's the truth: this struggle is not a sign of failure. Lust isn't just about a momentary weakness. It is an ongoing battle that every chosen one has to face at some point on their journey. And this is just the beginning. In the next part, we're going to dive even deeper into the psychological traps, societal expectations, and unseen forces that make this battle so complicated. So if this resonates with you, if you've ever felt like you raised silently fighting the same battle, you ray not alone. Stick with me for part 2.
Part 2. The pressure of perfection and the temptation of power. Let us continue our journey into the secret struggles of the chosen ones, those who walk the path of wisdom, spirituality, or personal enlightenment. One of the biggest challenges they face isn't just the temptation itself. It's the weight of expectations that the world places on them. Think about it. When someone is seen as a leader, a guide, or a person of higher consciousness, society often expects them to be above human desires. People put them on a pedestal. They're supposed to be wise, disciplined, and completely free from the kinds of temptations ordinary people deal with. But let's be real, that's not how life works. Chosen ones are still human. They still have desires, thoughts, struggles, and weaknesses. But because of this pressure to be perfect, many of them suppress their desires, hoping to make them disappear. Here's the problem: suppression doesn't work. It goes into the shadows, into the subconscious, where it grows in secret. This is why so many people who seem to have it all together suddenly fall from grace. It's not because they were weak all along. It's because they were pretending not to struggle, and the pressure eventually broke them. When you try to force something down, when you bury it deep, it doesn't go away, just gets stronger. History is full of stories like this. The admiration starts to feel good to good. It becomes tempting to use that influence in ways that aren't always aligned with your higher purpose. The more they tried to deny their humanity, the more their humanity pushed back. It's not about being bad or corrupt. It's about living under impossible expectations where failure feels inevitable. Some fall into it, but everyone who walks this path feels the tension. Spiritual teachers, religious figures, philosophers, they've all faced the same challenge. And then there's another layer. Power is seductive. They think their spiritual or intellectual achievements will protect them from temptation. They're often seen as tests of the soul. Some religious traditions even describe lust as a force beyond the self, sometimes personified as demons, spirits, or supernatural entities sent to distract you from enlightenment. But sometimes it's the very success they've built that becomes the trap. Whether it's their charisma, their intellect, or their spiritual depth, they naturally attract people. They inspire, they lead, they become role models. And that kind of attention is intoxicating, not just for the followers, but for the chosen ones themselves. Chosen ones often have a certain aura about them. You can't just push it away and hope it leaves you alone. It's a multi-layered conflict war that's fought in the mind, the body, and the spirit all at once. The real path to mastery is about facing your desires, understanding them, and learning how to transform that energy into something greater. When something is placed off limits, it becomes more tempting. For people who seek purity, discipline, and wisdom, lust often becomes the ultimate forbidden fruit. The very act of trying to lock it away makes it grow even stronger. People admire them, praise them, sometimes even idolize them. But admiration can easily cross a line. It can shift into desire from both sides. When you're constantly being looked up to, it's easy to start craving more of that attention. They're feeding the very thing they're trying to avoid. The real mastery comes from learning how to work with desire, not against it. It's about balance, not denial. This is one of the most dangerous temptations for chosen ones. The subtle shift from inspiring people to being seduced by your own power. The idea is that unresolved lessons from past lives can create patterns in the present. They're here to teach us something. They're part of the journey, not obstacles in the way. Some people, especially those who are considered old souls or chosen ones, may carry echoes of these past struggles with them. That's why certain desires seem to follow them no matter how much they try to resist. It's the idea that sexual energy can be redirected into something higher. Instead of being a source of shame or destruction, it becomes fuel for creativity, purpose, and enlightenment. Some resist it. Can you lead and inspire others without letting it go to your head? We'll talk about the connection between isolation, loneliness, and lust, and how to distinguish between true connection and temporary gratification. Can you recognize when admiration is starting to turn into something more dangerous? These are the questions that many chosen ones struggle with, often in silence. The truth is, many people on a higher path are simply unprepared for the allure of their own influence. And it's not just psychological, it's spiritual, too. Throughout history, mystics, monks, and sages have warned that temptations aren't just about personal weakness. Now, whether you take that literally or metaphorically, the core idea is the same. The closer you get to enlightenment, the stronger the temptations become. And energy can be destructive if it's left unchecked, but it can also be incredibly powerful when it's harnessed. It's like a cosmic test. Can you stay true to your path when everything around you inside you is trying to pull you back down? Instead of letting lust consume them, they transformed it into creativity, innovation, and spiritual growth. But here's something important to understand. This battle isn't won through fear, it's won through understanding. You can't conquer lust by pretending it doesn't exist. For chosen ones, lust is more than just a personal issue. And the forbidden always seems to taste sweeter, doesn't it? This is called the forbidden fruit effect. They may not even realize it, but by shutting themselves off from desire, they're creating an obsession with it. That's why history is filled with stories of monks, philosophers, and spiritual leaders who lived strict, disciplined lives, only to find themselves battling overwhelming temptation in secret. The more you try to escape lust, the more it chases you in your thoughts, your dreams, and your subconscious urges. So what's the solution? It's not about repression, it's about transformation. Chosen ones need to understand that suppression will never set them free. Some spiritual traditions believe this struggle isn't just about this life, it's about karma. But this isn't a curse, it's a lesson. Desires aren't random. The real goal isn't to get rid of temptation, but to learn from it. Lust, at its core, is raw energy. Some of history's greatest artists, poets and thinkers channeled their desires into their work. This is called sexual transmutation, a concept that exists in ancient teachings like Tantra, Taoism, and alchemy. For the chosen ones, the real challenge, isn't about avoiding temptation, it's about learning how to use it as a tool. In part 3, we'll go even deeper into this idea. If this is resonating with you, stay with me. The journey's just getting started. Part 3, loneliness, lust, and the search for connection. Let's continue peeling back the layers of this complex struggle. We talked about how chosen ones face an internal battle with lust, not because they weak, but because of their heightened awareness, the pressure of expectations, and the seduction of influence. But there's another powerful factor that makes this battle even more intense: loneliness. See, most people on a higher path, whether they're spiritual seekers, deep thinkers, or individuals chasing enlightenment, tend up feeling separate from the crowd. Their journey sets them apart. They think differently, they live differently, they look for ways to fill that space, and often they find it hard to connect with people who don't share their values or mindset. It's about wanting to feel close to someone, even if just for a moment. It's about seeking intimacy in a world that often feels cold, distant, or indifferent. This kind of isolation can create a deep, gnawing emptiness. And what happens when people feel empty? Lust becomes one of the easiest ways to do that. After the moment passes, the emptiness often feels even deeper. It's about understanding where those desires come from. For many chosen ones, lust isn't just about craving physical pleasure, it's about craving connection. But here's where it gets tricky. Lust can disguise itself as a solution to loneliness, when in reality, it's only a temporary fix. That's why chosen ones need to ask themselves an honest question. What am I really looking for? When you suppress them, they explode back into your life in unexpected ways. Both paths lead to suffering. Am I seeking love, connection, or purpose? Or am I just trying to distract myself from the pain of feeling alone? This is one of the most important lessons on the path. It's not about pretending you don't have desires. It's a powerful force of nature that can either build or destroy, depending on how you use it. But when it's understood and redirected, it can become one of the most powerful creative forces in existence. At its core, the struggle with lust is a battle between mastery and slavery. They either give in completely, letting their desires control their life, or they try to suppress them entirely, pretending they don't exist. Many of them took their deepest desires, their raw emotions, and channeled them into their work. Instead of letting lust consume them, they turned it into poetry, music, philosophy, and spiritual insight. From Tantra in the East to alchemy in the West, there's a universal teaching. Either you master your desires, or your desires master you. When you catch yourself chasing after temporary pleasure, ask yourself, and here's the hard truth: most people don't master them. Neither extreme works. When you indulge your desires without thinking, they consume you. The real solution is balance. It's about understanding desire, transforming it, and using it as fuel for something greater. Lust, in its purest form, is just energy. It's not evil, it's not a curse. It comes from aligning your desires with your higher self. When left unchecked, lust leads to chaos, broken relationships, addictions, emotional emptiness. Think about the artists, writers, and visionaries throughout history. But if you let it run wild, it can burn everything to the ground. But the answer isn't always found in the physical. Sometimes It's about finding deeper connections, whether that's with yourself, with a trusted community, or with your higher purpose. For chosen ones, the goal isn't to eliminate lust, it's to transmute it. This concept is ancient. It's found in spiritual traditions all over the world. Sexual energy can be transformed into creative power, spiritual awakening, and higher consciousness. When you stop fighting lust as the enemy and instead learn how to work with it, everything changes. But how do you do that? When you stop being afraid of your desires and start using them as a source of creativity, strength, and spiritual growth. We'll explore how to shift from repression to transformation and how to break free from the cycles of guilt, shame, and frustration that keep so many people stuck. It starts with self-awareness. The first step is recognizing when lust is really just a mask for loneliness, emptiness, or a lack of connection. What need am I trying to fulfill right now? Is it really about the body, or is it about the heart? Is it about love, validation, or a sense of belonging? Most of the time, the craving isn't just physical, it's emotional and spiritual. Chosen ones need to understand this distinction. When you're isolated, when you feel set apart from the world, it's natural to long for intimacy. The challenge is learning to distinguish between genuine connection and temporary gratification. Lust might offer a quick fix, but it rarely brings true fulfillment. True fulfillment comes from relationships built on trust, love, and shared purpose. It comes from creative expression, spiritual practice, and meaningful work. And here's where the battle gets real. If you channel your desires into something meaningful, they'll find a way to control you. Desire is like fire. If you know how to use it, it can warm your home and cook your food. That's why this journey isn't about denying your human nature. It's about mastering it. When you master your desires, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, there's nothing in the world that can stop you. But if you let your desires run the show, you'll always feel like a prisoner, chasing after things that never really satisfy you. Many chosen ones spend years of lifetimes caught in this loop. Some give in and let lust consume them. Others try to shut it out completely, only to find themselves crashing harder when temptation eventually returns. Neither path leads to true freedom. The real freedom comes when you learn to transform lust into power. In the next part, we'll talk about how this process works on a deeper level. We'll also cover ancient teachings on sexual transmutation and how chosen ones can use this knowledge to fuel their greatest work. If this message is hitting home for you, stay tuned for Part 4. We're about to go even deeper. Part 4. The Path of Transformation. From suppression to mastery. So far, we've explored why chosen ones often struggle with lust, how loneliness, isolation, and the desire for connection feed into the battle. We've also looked at the dangers of repression and the traps of indulgence. Now it's time to go deeper into the solution. Transformation, not suppression. But there's a third path, a higher path, and that's where real freedom lies. Let's face it, most people think the way to handle lust is either to fight it or to give in to it. It starts with understanding a simple but powerful truth. Lust is not the enemy, it's energy. Energy can't be destroyed, it can only be transformed. The human body has instincts, the human mind has cravings, and the spirit has longings. These are part of what it means to be alive. But that doesn't mean you have to be a slave to those impulses. The real secret, and spiritual masters have known for thousands of years, that you can redirect that energy. You can take the raw force of desire and turn it into something higher. This concept is often called sexual transmutation. The goal is to learn how to work with your energy so that it serves your mission instead of pulling you off course. In Taoism, it's about using life force energy to fuel vitality and creativity. In alchemy, it's the process of turning the base metal of primal desire into spiritual gold. It shows up in ancient traditions across the world. In Tantra, it's about channeling sexual energy into spiritual awakening. Instead, pause, observe it, get curious about it. In modern terms, it's about taking the urge for pleasure and transforming it into drive, creativity, focus, and purpose. Many of them carried intense desires, but instead of letting those desires consume them, they turned them into masterpieces. They built philosophies, wrote books, created art, started movements. They channeled their deepest urges into something meaningful. Look at history's great thinkers, artists, and leaders. That's what chosen ones are called to do. It's about understanding your inner world so you can work with it, not against it. The goal isn't to live like a robot, shutting out all emotion or desire. But how do you actually do that? Maybe lust shows up when you feel disconnected from your purpose. Maybe it's linked to past trauma or emotional wounds. It starts with awareness and honesty. When you feel the pull of lust, don't immediately try to suppress it or distract yourself. Ask yourself, what am I really craving right now? Is this about physical pleasure, or is it about loneliness? Is it about validation? Is it about stress relief? Can I take this energy and do something creative or productive with it? This isn't about guilt. It's not about shaming yourself for having desires. When you start practicing this kind of reflection, you begin to build self-mastery. Use the energy of desire to fuel your drive. If you let it flow wildly without direction, it might flood your life and cause chaos. But if you build channels for it, you can turn that same river into power-running mills, generating electricity, nourishing fields. You'll start to notice patterns. Maybe you get tempted when you're stressed, bored, or lonely. They think being spiritual or enlightened means being free from temptation. Once you see the pattern, you can break it. The next step is to redirect the energy. Instead, you're using every part of your being, body, mind, spirit as a tool for growth. Write, paint, build, design. Creation is one of the highest forms of transmutation. Physical movement, exercise, dance, martial arts, yoga, moving your body, helps move the energy through you instead of letting it stagnate. Spiritual practice, it's showing you where your energy is strongest. It's revealing where your focus is needed. And it's giving you the raw material to build something greater. Meditation, breathwork, prayer, or ritual, these practices raise your vibration and help you connect to something greater than yourself. Purpose-driven work will talk about how to break free from the cycles of temptation and guilt, and how to reach a state where your desires no longer control you but serve you. Focus on your mission, whether that's building a business, helping others, studying, teaching, or leading. The key is intention. You're not running from desire, you're using it as fuel. Think of it like this. Desire is like a river. It's all about guiding the flow. Another important piece of this puzzle is acceptance. Being human means having desires. Enlightenment isn't about eliminating them. It's about knowing how to work with them. When you accept this, the shame starts to fall away. You stop judging yourself so harshly. You stop pretending you're above human nature. And that's when real mastery becomes possible. You're no longer fighting an endless war against yourself. You're aligned, you're focused, you're powerful. In many spiritual traditions, this is seen as the final step of transformation, turning base desires into spiritual gold. It's about realizing that lust isn't a curse, it's a teacher. This is the path of the chosen one, not the path of denial, but the path of transmutation. In Part 5, we'll explore how this journey leads to ultimate liberation. We'll also cover how to share this wisdom with others, because there are countless people struggling silently, waiting for this message. If you've made it this far, you're already on the path to mastery. Get ready for the final chapter. Part 5, the final chapter, Liberation Through Mastery. We've come a long way in this conversation. We've uncovered the hidden struggles of the chosen ones, the silent battles with lust, the weight of expectations, the seduction of influence, the loneliness, and the emotional traps. Now it's time to talk about liberation. Because here is the truth. The goal, isn't just to manage desire, it is to be free from its control. But freedom doesn't mean eliminating desire. It means understanding it so deeply that it no longer has power over you. You don't have to run from it. You don't have to hide from it. You don't have to pretend it's not there. You simply see it for what it is, energy. Once you understand that, you realize something profound. Desire is not your master, it's your tool. They chase pleasure, feel empty afterward, then try to suppress their urges only to fall back into the same habits again. There's a greater purpose at risk. There's a mission that can be derailed. It's a loop. And for chosen ones, the loop can feel even more intense because the stakes are higher. But the way out of this loop isn't force its wisdom, but they also have to accept that they are more than just their desires. It's just energy waiting for you to direct it. You are not defined by your struggles. You are defined by how you respond to them. Mastery over lust, over any desire, starts with acceptance. Chosen ones must first accept that they are human. They must accept that desire is part of life. You are not a slave to your impulses. When you reach this level of awareness, lust stops being a source of fear or shame. It becomes neutral. You can turn that energy into love, into your art. It's about integrating all parts of yourself, even the parts you used to fear, into your legacy. You no longer carry the guilt and shame that keep so many people stuck. Creativity, compassion, leadership, wisdom, it's about learning how to use every part of who you are, your body, your mind, your spirit, to serve your higher purpose. You can transmute it into your life's work. This is why the most powerful people throughout history, mystics, sages, philosophers, artists, spoke about this transformation. They knew the secret, that sexual energy is life energy, and when it's mastered, it can fuel greatness. In many spiritual teachings, this is the final step, the path to enlightenment. It's not about denying who you are. You become the creator of your destiny, not a prisoner of your impulses. The moment you stop running from lust and start transforming it, you become unstoppable. You no longer live in fear of your own desires. You no longer feel trapped by temptation. Instead, you become a master of yourself. And when you master yourself, there is nothing in the world that can stand in your way. This is what true liberation looks like. It's not about perfection. It's not about pretending you've ascended beyond human nature. They don't know who to turn to or how to break free. So, if you've ever struggled with lust, if you've ever felt trapped in cycles of guilt and temptation, know this: you are not alone, and you are not broken. You are being tested. Let S help others break free from the guilt and the shame so they can step into their purpose. You are being taught, and you are being invited to step into a higher level of mastery. They're not. We're all walking this path together. The battle isn't something to be ashamed of, it's part of the path. When you learn to transmute desire, you unlock a power that few people ever reach. You use desire instead of being used by it. And when you do that, you inspire others to do the same. Because here's the thing, there are millions of people struggling silently with this exact battle. They feel ashamed. They feel alone. But you've just gained the knowledge they're searching for. So let's not keep this wisdom hidden. If this message resonated with you, if you found value in this journey, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, share this with someone else who needs it. There are chosen ones all over the world, silently battling their desires, thinking they're alone. Let's spread the truth. Let's awaken more people to their potential. Master your desires, and you will master yourself. And when you master yourself, there's nothing that can stop you. Thank you for being part of this journey. Until next time, stay aware, stay empowered, and keep walking the path.